So once an episode is done, you upload it. I mean, I've done this with my episodes. I've kind of like have a sense of accomplishment and all that fun stuff. Like after because you feel proud of the work you did. Like how do you get over that feeling? Just so don't that way you can grow as like a producer and all that stuff. Just to keep putting out episodes over and over again. How do you get
Yeah,
over that?
that's kind of an interesting question because like when we're working on an episode, it's kind of like all I'm focused on more or less, and I'm really proud of it all up until the point where until it's like uploaded and released on YouTube, and then right when we start making the next episode, right when we start recording game footage and writing notes for it and stuff, then basically I'm kind of like I don't know what the term is, just kind of like let that old episode go. I still check the YouTube for new comments every day, of course, and I see everyone's YouTube comments, by the way. And but it's kind of like you love it, you let it go, and then just work on this one. It's just kind of like an ever-moving thing, and that's really the best way I can describe it. And I suck at describing it.
Yeah, I think once the episode's done, I like to watch it on Sunday night, and then Monday before I go to work, I'll read a handful of comments that are out there, and I'm like, oh, that's great, and just start thinking about the next episode, what games we're going to talk about, and what any thoughts that immediately pop to mind without playing them. Try to remember those to jot them down, and but just keep feedback is the main thing that keeps us knowing that people are interested in watching it, because so far it's just been outstanding positive feedback, and we really appreciate all that, of course.
And if you guys haven't figured it out, he on YouTube is Tetris Dave. So when he responds to your comment, when Tetris Dave responds, that's this guy.
It's not some random dude pretending to take ownership of.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just keep moving. I mean, keep thinking about the next episode and what you want to talk about, and just watch the previous one that was just released a couple times, and keep reading the comments, and answer them as much as you can, and just be happy with what's going on. So,
I'm sure you guys made several 100 mistakes during the filming or taping of an episode, stuff like that. Are there any blooper reels on the horizon?
I said you were way off. We're in the thousands of mistakes, not hundreds.
Okay, so. Thousands of mistakes. So does that mean we may see in the future some blooper episodes coming up?
Yeah, we have one already out, and there's another one. It'll probably be, I don't know when, but it'll be more than just bloopers, because there's a couple of things I don't want to give away anything. I mean, I haven't even told Dave this yet, and I can't tell him now until the camera's off.
Spoil it.
But there's like a before and an after segment of something that's going to happen that I want to show on the next one. So it'll kind of be slightly more behind the screens maybe, but it'll still definitely be lots of bloopers. And again, I don't know when that's coming out. Maybe a month. I have no idea, but it's coming.
And there's never any supply of bloopers on our part. So
yeah, I want to give more. I'd like to give people more than just us flooding words. I mean,
you're right. As funny as that is, and the short little episode we put out, some people like it, others are like, "What the hell is this? Where's the real Game Tech episode?" But
yeah, but it was not in lieu of a regular.
Yeah,
episode.
It's not in lieu of a regular episode.
So whatever.
So overall, in a sense, what would you say what were some of the most fun episodes that you personally filmed to date? And which ones do you think you wish you could go back and kind of work over or redo? I'm sure everyone has those.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start first because
go for it.
Well, one of the ones I had a lot of fun making was the laser active episode, because I spent like 2 weeks just getting shots of this gigantic laser active console. These beauty shots, these depth of focus changes, and moving around, laser just going in and out. And that was just a lot of fun. There were a lot of other episodes that I've had a lot of fun with too. I just can't think of off the top of my head. One that I would like to go back and change was the one that was Enforce Boulder and Road Rash, mainly because I forgot to include the Sega Master System Road Rash, and I had it. and I really should have included it. So at the last second before I uploaded that episode, I was like, crap, I forgot that, and there was nothing I could do. So I changed the title to 16-bit Road Rash or 16 and 32-bit Road Rash or something like that, just so people wouldn't say, you forgot the Master System version. And it's like, yeah, man, but I really regret forgetting that. And there's a lot of other episodes there are games that like, oh man, you know, I could have included that, and I just feel bad for forgetting them. And we do forget games sometimes. Sometimes, you know, we purposely don't include them, and you know, people love to comment, you forgot such and such, you forgot this. Like, no, we'll include it in the next Left in Arcade episode. So, but you know, it's just stuff like that. Just, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, a lot of the earlier episodes, just because the way we interact, how, you know, obviously knew we were to doing this was, you know, like I went back and watched the Mario versus Sonic episode, and I was like, man, we just sound horrible in there, you know. It sound genuine at all, going back and forth. It's just ridiculous. But, you know, episodes I like a lot of them, just the fact that it gets me to go back and play a lot of the games that I probably wouldn't either touch again or, you know, touch for a very long time. And it's brings back a lot of the good memories just playing a lot of these games again. And, you know, it's just, the whole process has just been really cool. So, you know, hopefully we just keep having enough ideas to keep going and going. So.
Definitely.
Okay, to kind of switch gears here to a more sad note, as the fact that you guys live in Colorado, and with the events what happened in Aurora just recently happening, I mean, we can, I just want to say this again, I asked you before the show, I'll ask you again, we can skip this if you guys don't feel comfortable about it.
It's cool.
Okay,
it's cool.
so the Aurora shooting just happened just not that far away from you guys. Literally, like, I think you said in your video, about 16 miles or so away.
Right.
And that you were involved with the theater. Do you want to walk us through, like, how you felt on that day, and, like, your personal connection and all that?
Yeah, well, that theater, I helped out in the installation and for the video wall in the lobby. I didn't really... A lot of theaters I helped out installing the projection and sound equipment, but this one I just did the video wall. And I also had a friend who worked over there, and I got tours to the place and stuff like that. But that part of town, that theater has always kind of been a high crime theater, so to say. I mean, there's almost always off-duty police officers there, and there wasn't one on that night. For whatever reason, they didn't have an off-duty cop there. I don't know why, but so that's one of the things I'm just like, where were they? And well, wasn't one there. And but you know, when I first heard of it, and I first heard it was a Century 16, I'm like, oh, something else happened in such. No, yeah, nothing that bad has ever happened there. But you know, usually there's like, you know, car break-ins and, you know, just petty little crimes that always happen at that theater. And so I was kind of shocked. And then I don't know, my first thought was, you know, Aurora is kind of a bad area of town, and it's
you better watch what you're saying.
I know. I used to live in Aurora, and it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things where it was kind of hard to process right away. And I of course felt really bad, you know, for these people who's just trying to watch a movie and have a good time, and you know, just the news just kept pouring in, and it was just kind of hard to process. And I still don't know how to process some of it, but I just know that I'm not going to refer to the person who perpetrated this by his name. I'm not going to call. I'm only going to call him Sideshow Bob, or what's that guy from the Muppets? Yeah. And,
you know, I don't know. My take on it is, you know, it sucks it happened, but I think it could have happened really anywhere, you know. Yes. And I'm sorry, of course, for anybody who was hurt. I mean, because a lot of people were devastated, not just the victims, but the families, and, you know, I've talked to people who said, I know somebody who was killed in there. I've actually met this person, and there's always a sense of dreadful, just lamenting, and you're just, just generally sad. But I think it could have happened anywhere. It's not, I don't frequent Aurora very much, but every when I've been around there, I've never, seen anything too crazy.
Actually, I mean, a few years ago, they redid that whole part by the theater. And it's a really nice area now. It's called the Aurora Town Center or something like that now. I don't know. But it was a really high crime. There was a couple because the theater is right outside of what used to be called the Aurora Mall. And then there was a couple of shootings inside Aurora Mall. And then I think not long after that, they closed it down and just kind of rebuilt it to kind of like a nice upscale combined living, combined shopping center that they like to build nowadays, I think. I haven't really been there, but I know it's really nice. And so they've really improved the neighborhood.
Yeah, and it's hard to say because the perpetrator of all this, from all the news that you take in, was actually a smart fellow. He had graduated college from what I understood, or he was out in California. He graduated from some college in California, and he was doing some sort of medical degree here at the Anshu Center down there. But so I mean, the guy had, it sounded like he was on the right track in life at least. But something, who knows? I mean, who knows what happened to this guy to make him, figure, well, you know what, I'm just going to do this horrendous deed, and not even have the dignity to take his life. And I mean, to the point, I mean, it's just crazy that he actually booby-trapped his apartment because he always was planning on, killing more people, in that area. So it's just strange. I mean, it's not some weirdo that came from the gutter of life and just going crazy. But
yeah,
so it's until the trial's over and that maybe they get some actual, explanations on what's going through this guy's head. And I hope he doesn't just plead an insanity defense, so he doesn't have to explain, his actions. But, I don't know. It's definitely a sad thing, and it's, so and people are moving on. And
well, there's one more thing I want to say about this, and that's I don't know if anyone out there has heard about this, but there were reports from after the police and everybody arrived on scene. They were like calling up, hey, can we shut this movie off in theater number 9, because the movie was still playing, like, as all this was happening, after everyone was out, after the police were in there, and the movie was still playing on screen. And I guess from what I heard, someone pulled the fire alarm to get everyone out there. And now from my perspective, that's supposed to shut off all the projector. And in that particular theater, when it was built, the fire alarm did shut off the projectors, but at that time it was film projectors. And they have changed them all out to digital, and I guess when you swap out your stuff for digital, you don't have to meet fire code or something. So that's just something that was just kind of upsetting to me. Extra upsetting. It's like those really should have shut off, because that's just, I don't know. I'm probably just going off on a
well, yeah, but it's interesting to wonder what
yeah. I just wonder about those things. So
yeah.
Now, as is the case with some of these tragic shootings, like Columbine and the psychopath up in was it Switzerland or whatever? I mean, every one of these seems to somehow come back and get related to video gaming through the media. Video games seem to be a scapegoat and all that stuff. Surprisingly, they have not pointed the blame or finger at video games for this guy, but it may just be a matter of time. It might actually be brought up during court. I mean, why is it that video games constantly come up as such an easy scapegoat? For Columbine, they were using Doom to train, although I'm still trying to figure out how you can aim with a pistol with Doom. The guy who shot those 20 or so teenagers on that island was obsessed with WoW and whatever. I mean, like why is it such an easy scapegoat?
I think it's they don't really understand video games, the news media, that is. And so it's like, oh, well, shoot people on video games, so they're using them as killing simulators or trainers.
Right.
I remember, Columbine is not very far from my house where I live now at all. And back when my friends went to Columbine, not when that happened, mind you, before that, but still. And I remember after Columbine happened, I think, did the Dreamcast come out before or after Columbine? I can't remember.
After, I believe.
Okay, so I remember it was because of Columbine that they did not release the light gun. And if you wanted a light gun to play House of the Dead 2 or whatever, you had to get the Mad Catz thing and this little funky thing. Right. And it went so far as to make sure the Japanese light gun didn't work on the U.S. systems, and that was just kind of stupid in my opinion. It's just like, what, are people going to go out an extremely fake-looking light gun? I mean, I can understand if the gun looks real, but no.
Like the Mad Catz?
Right, and yeah, like you said earlier, it's just an easy scapegoat to pin it on, video games. But as we all heard and know, how many millions and millions of people are gaming out there and don't have any tendencies to actually go and take it out in real life. I mean, there's no correlation with it. I play Black Ops quite a bit, and I have absolutely no intention of,
well, you've only killed a few people, and it's just that, like, can we find in common between all these killers? Oh, they all use the toilet sitting down or something. So we got to go to Japanese style squatting toilets. It's just like you look for anything in common. That is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? They could have been beat as a kid or something and degraded. But we don't know, but just video gaming, taking it out, unless the killer specifically comes out and says, yeah, I killed 100 people in Grand Theft Auto and I wanted to see if it was just like the video game, so I did it in real life. Unless they come out and blatantly, say that, I don't see where they can correlate it.
And even if they do, they're clearly psychotic.
Clearly.
And I mean, come on, no sane person would think, oh, I want to see how it feels.
Exactly,
really
right, exactly. So, I mean, people kill people in video games constantly, and
if we banned video games, if we banned movies, it's not going to do anyone any good, really.
Books are very violent too, but it's just not a visual form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Now, probably one of the best way to avoid some of these violent video games is usually like the Columbine. Those were teenagers, and apparently parents have to be involved in what their kids play, like they were involved with like the books or comics they were reading back in the day, the movies they're watching, the music they're listening to. And it just seems in this day and age that like parents just don't seem to get it. I mean, the government seems so quick to point the blame and finger at like GameStop or Walmart for selling these games to these kids, when really it's the parents who are just walking in there because they're tired of hearing their kids stomp the ground, have a shit fit or whatnot, and give them the Grand Theft Auto or whatnot.
Parents want to just get the kids off of their back so they can watch whatever reality TV they want to watch.
Yeah.
And the kid goes and plays his game, whatever, and doesn't have any real connection with their parents. I mean, it's just like
they're using it as a babysitter. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. They're using the game as babysitters that don't have to actually interact with their kids, which is why did they have kids in the first place? So
I'm assuming you guys are parents, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
As a father, I assume you are probably more in tow with like watching what your kids play. I'm sure you play some games with them. I don't know how old your kid is. So like I'm sure you're not going to let them like play Mortal Kombat before you feel like they're age appropriate. I have a son. He's almost 2. I'm not going to be letting him play like Mortal Kombat till I feel he's appropriate. My parents didn't let me play Doom till Doom or Mortal Kombat till I was like maybe 12, 13 years old, because they felt I understood the difference in reality and stuff like that. I mean, seriously, it's not like I can just go to Joe here and rip his head off.
You're right, and I think you're right. It's going to be at the point when I feel that my daughter realizes this is not real, this is completely fake, and it has nothing to do with real life, and she can discern between the two. guesses she's going to rather play The Sims and, Nintendo or something.
Yeah.
Demand.
Something like Grand Theft Auto. But, if she even plays anything at all, who knows? So, I think as a parent, you just need to, on that level with your child, to know, when they're ready. You got to have a good line of communication to know when. Don't just, like we said earlier, give your kid a game, let them go for it, and even if you think you don't care if it's good or bad, or what kind of impression it's leaving on your kid. But
my parents did. I mean, they just said, okay, here you go. Of course, I don't think they had any idea that video games would ever become as violent as they have.
Yeah.
And they certainly weren't back at the time.
Yeah. Well, of course, with 8-bit, killing in 8-bit is a lot different than the current gen.
Yes. I mean, yes, it is. Yeah. But back then, there were still people saying that video games are the cause of all evil.
Oh, yes. Combat, was the king of that, and they loved it. I'm sure they reaped every penny they could from it.
Yeah. Yeah, Night Trap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Night Trap. What a violent game that was.
But yeah, go back, think back to Atari, Custer's Last Stand.
Custer's Revenge. Oh god, that game. Okay, so,